have to kind of work twice as hard.
Good morning, Africa. Welcome to another interesting episode of The Conversation here on TOS TV, your digital first Pan-African network. And guess what? It's Friday. Yes, the weekend is here. I hope you're preparing well for the weekend. I am Adesu Hausi.
And I am Osaze Isesele. It's always good to bring you inspirational, informative, and educative content here on The Conversation.
Okay, so we're going to go on a quick break, and when we get back, it'll be time to take you through stories and developments across the African continent. Do stay tuned.
North to South Africa, East to West Africa, TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media.
Welcome back. If you're just joining, it's still a conversation here on TOS TV Network, and we're about to, take you through happenings across the African continent. We're going to start from South Sudan, where the African Development Bank has delivered a grant of $14 million to, South Sudan to boost agriculture and reduce dependence on oil. Now, during the Memorandum of Understanding signing ceremony on Wednesday, the African Development Bank representative Benedict Suri Kanu said the grant will support the agricultural markets, value addition and trade development project by the United Nations Food Agricultural Organization. Now, this will enhance agricultural productivity and boost marketing and trade of agricultural products in the North African country. Kanu disclosed that South Sudan spends millions of dollars annually to import food, which will change through the AMVAT. Now, he further said, yes, we know that there are challenges that hinder agriculture and agricultural businesses, but they can be overcome, as where there is a will, there is a way. I like that. I like the fact that South Sudan is looking to diversifying the economy and going from oil to agriculture.
That's really commendable. Now we move over to Yemen. Yemen military blocks Facebook, social media as pressure grows. Yemen's generals ordered internet providers to restrict access to Facebook on Thursday, as the United Nations chief Antonio Guterres said the world must rally to ensure the military coup fails. Now, the Southeast African nation was plunged back into direct military rule on Monday as de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi and other civilian leaders were detained in a series of down raids, ending the country's brief experiment with democracy. The coup sparked international condemnation and fears the military will drag 54 million people back to the decades of junta rule that turned Yemen into one of Asia's most impoverished and repressive nations.
Now we're going to stay with, COVID-19 vaccination developments in Rwanda, where the country is expected to receive over 1.1 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine in the first and second quarter of 2021 from the COVAX facility, a global initiative that aims at accelerating fair and equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines for every country. COVAX published on February 3rd its first interim distribution forecast for the vaccines, disseminating information on the projected early availability of doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine in the first quarter of 2021 and the AstraZeneca-Oxford vaccine candidate in the first half of 2021 to participating countries, among which is Rwanda. Now, 996,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine and 102,960 of the Pfizer vaccine have been allocated to Rwanda, according to the forecast.
Still talking about COVID-19, we move to Ethiopia, where Ethiopia plans to vaccinate 20% population in 2021. Ethiopia has commenced plans to inoculate 20% of the Ethiopian population against the COVID-19 pandemic by the end of 2021, the country's top health experts have said. While speaking to reporters, Moluken Yohannes, a senior advisor to the health ministry, said in order to achieve the required vaccination process, a national coordinator committee and a task force have been set up by the government. He said the country is also actively involved in a unique global alliance representing more than two-thirds of the world to ensure that vaccines equitably get to developing nations and at a reasonable cost. You know, yesterday we spoke about how African leaders have been taking the charge.
Yeah.
You know, the leadership, particularly in this period of the pandemic, has been really quite impressive compared to what our international counterparts would have wished or expected, you know, that we did or we did do. So let's say kudos to African leaders leading the charge to ensure that their citizens are safe and they are able to cope COVID-19 to the barest minimum.
Okay, talking about COVID-19, we're going to go, you know, take you through our COVID-19 update for this morning, COVID-19 updates from across Africa. Okay, that is the figure right there. You know, COVID-19 cases across Africa, like I always tell you, take precautions, wear your face mask and sanitize, and take personal hygiene very seriously at this time. And now we're going to go into, you know, what the head dailies are saying this morning. My co-host here, Osaze, is going to start with that one.
All right, let's quickly go to our newspaper and the national dailies to see what the headlines look like this morning. And we begin with the Punch newspaper. Right on the very top of the Punch newspaper is Review Exports Proceeds Policy. LCCI tells Central Bank of Nigeria. Review Exports Proceeds Policy. LCCI tells Central Bank of Nigeria. You can find that on page 23 of the Punch newspaper. Now you have right on the Punch newspaper, you have again Senate summons NDDC over 6.25 billion naira palliative sharing. We haven't heard the last of the NDDC case that happened about some months ago, and now here is the headlines again saying again Senate summons NDDC over 6.25 billion naira palliative sharing. Just beside that headline, we also have EFCC describes how miner's son fled to U.S. through Niger. EFCC describes how miner's son fled to U.S. Through Niger. You can find that on page 11 of the Punch newspaper. Now, the very big one, the gaping headline on the front page says states differ as Zamfara, Gombe begin ranching. Oyo, Cross River, others oppose project. It has about 5 riders. It says Ruga settlements nearing completion, says Zamfara. Ruga settlements nearing completion, says Zamfara. Ranching set to take off, says Nasarawa. Cattle rearing is private business, says Oyo. No budget for ranching for now, says Ekiti. Ondo deploys Amotekun in forest reserves, ejects errant headers, and seizes 5,000 cows. All right, that you can find on the front page of the Punch newspaper. We still have on page 9, gunmen raid FCT community, kidnap Punch reporter and 2 others. Beside that, you see PDP, others oppose Buratai, ex-service chief's nomination as ambassadors. It's on page 11 of the Punch newspaper. You can also see Sans Fort IG's 3-month tenure extension. Sans Fort IG's 3-month tenure extension. You can find that on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. Very interesting and quite informative headlines right there on the Punch newspaper this morning.
Okay, moving from the Punch to the Nigerian Tribune, I'm going to start with the Nigerian Tribune has quite a lot of headlines this morning, so I'm going to start with the very, obvious one. This is IGP, 3 months, 3 more months for Adamu, wrong. That's from the PDP, Adegboruwa and Ozekome. And the rider under that says, for now, Nigeria has no IGP recognized by law, they say. And then just underneath that, we have alleged money laundering. Maynard's son Faisal flees to US, EFCC tells court. And then NDDC Senate raises the alarm over 6.25 billion naira palliative expenditure. And Motecan flushes out 37 herdsmen, 5,000 cows from forest reserves in Ondo. Police intensify efforts to rescue kidnapped Chinese miners in Osun State. And then just under the the picture of the day on the Nigerian Tribune, we have Buhari nominates Olunishake Buratai, other ex-service chiefs as ambassadors. And the riders under that, Senate should reject it, says SMBLF. It's a plot to avert ICC investigation, that's by the PDP. Ambassadorial appointment can stave off probe, that's coming from human rights lawyer Femi Falana. And just beside that, varsity workers strike takes off midnight today. There is no end in sight, says SANU president. NASU SANU right branches to commence strike. And then just on top of just underneath the Nigerian Tribune, FG to raise freight rate of petrol to 9.11 naira per litre. Court upholds Lagos government's restriction order on Okada, Keke and Pep. And then on the 2023 elections, why we want to expand access to polling units, that's coming from INEC. Okay, so just on top of the Nigerian Tribune, eviction of herdsmen portends danger to peaceful coexistence, says the northern governors. If cattle rearers are giving Fulani a bad name, they should stop it, says Asemota. Open grazing is obsolete, this is coming from Bakary. And insurgent criminals should not be allowed to tear Nigeria apart. That's from Kaduna State Governor El Rufai. Those are the headlines on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Do get yourself a copy. Quite interesting headlines, I must say.
Yeah, finally this morning on the newspaper review, we have The Nation. The Nation newspaper. Right there you see governors move to douse rising tension over headers. Governors move to douse rising tension over headers. Uzodinma Bagudu, Badaru meet with Ohaneze, Miyetti Allah and others. North Helpsmen, El Rufai caution against escalating violence. Now on the top of that headline you see NLNG paid $35 billion dividend from $108 billion income. Also beside that you see domestic credits rise by 774.28 billion naira. And then this obviously is a report from Kogi State. It says how we are fighting COVID-19 by Kogi government. Now by the side you see petrol price likely to rise with freight hike. Government and labor already in talks. Besides that also you have APC members registration legal. Buni replies Akonde. There's been a back and forth. BC Akonde, a very top APC chieftain, has complained about the APC registration process so far and says there's been some irregularity. So this is the caretaker chairman of the APC replying BC Akonde that APC members registration legal. Buni replies Akonde. And just under that you have minor son Pfizer flees to US, EFCC tells court. And then finally under the Nation newspaper you find lawyers fault Buhari's extension of police IG Adamu's tenure. Lawyers fault Buhari's extension of police IG Adamu's tenure. There's still quite a number of very interesting and educative stories on the Nation newspaper. You can do well to get a copy and get yourself informed and educated like we do here on The Conversation. The dailies this morning are packed with very interesting stories. So do grab yourself a copy, to stay up to date with happenings, here in Nigeria. And that is the national dailies, newspaper headlines for this morning. We're going to go on a quick break, and when we do get back, it's time for our big story. Good morning and welcome back. It's still the conversation here on TOS TV Network, your digital first Pan-African news network. It's now time for our big story this morning, and we're looking at something very, very interesting. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday extended the tenure of the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, by 3 months. Now, yesterday, Mohammed Dingyadi, Minister of Police Affairs, confirmed the development to State House correspondents, noting that the extension was necessary to give room for the proper selection of a successor. Adamu, who was appointed in 2019, had on Monday clocked the mandatory 35 years in service and was expected to have been replaced by the president. Now, reacting to this development, Ebun Olu Adegborura, a senior advocate of Nigeria and human rights lawyer, says the extension of the tenure of Mohammed Adamu as Inspector General of Police is illegal and unconstitutional. He argued that when the tenure of an IGP expires on the basis of the mandatory 35 years of service, it cannot be extended. Now, to look at what the law says and the action of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces this morning, joining us on the conversation via phone from Jos Plateau State is Obinna Chukwueze, a strategic communication and knowledge management expert. Good morning, Obinna. You're welcome to the show this morning. All right, the extension of the IGP by 3 months, his tenure by 3 months, has been on the front burner since the news broke out yesterday. Well, let's start with your reaction to the extension.
Thank you very much. The extension came to us like a shock because it's just barely 4 months that the Police Act was signed into law by the President and Commander-in-Chief. So the letter and the spirit of the Police Act is still very fresh. So when the President decided to extend the tenure of yesterday, which was Wednesday, it was a very big blow to the society. We were not expecting that. First of all, the tenure of the IGP ended on Monday. On Monday.
Yes, sir.
Then the announcement to extend came yesterday, Wednesday.
All right.
That is like 48 hours. So let us look at what the law says. So, like in your introduction and background, you did mention that the IG is expected to retire as soon as he completes the compulsory year of service, 35 years. So Monday was the right day to retire.
Yes.
So the president, because the president is expected to announce a replacement who IGP Adamu was supposed to hand over to. So that Monday went and passed. The president did not announce. Because he didn't announce, the IGP also did not see anyone to hand over. So he refused to hand over. So Monday passed. Tuesday, the IGP still remained in the office and went to the airport to receive president on arrival to Abuja from Daura on official uniform. So Tuesday happened. Wednesday again came yesterday. The Minister for Police Affairs, Megari Dingadi, now announced extension. So if you see the sequence of everything about the sequence is wrong. From a violation of the law, from the method of announcement, for the reasons for the extension, everything is completely wrong. But as we get into this conversation, we will break it down.
Okay, now, Mr. Obinna, in the opinion of Adegborura, the human rights lawyer cited section 215 subsection A, section 216 subsection 2 paragraph 27 of the third schedule of the 1999 Constitution to support his argument that the extension of the tenure of Mohammed Adamu as IGP is illegal and unconstitutional. What is your take as regarding that?
Definitely, it's unconstitutional because that section made it compulsory that the tenure of the president, the tenure of the IGP, cannot be extended. It's very clear on it.
Okay.
It's a single term of 4 years or maximum of 35 years required in civil service. So it's without extension.
Okay.
So it's a black and white. It's prima facie. You cannot extend it. The law does not give such powers. But one thing about our country, where there are weak institutions and strong individuals. When you listen to the police minister yesterday, he said the president can extend, but the law says it cannot extend. So it means what is in the opinion of the Minister of Affairs that the president is above the law. So this is the kind of things so this is what is called lawlessness.
Okay, so Mr. Obina, are you categorically saying that as we speak, Nigeria does not have an IGP recognized by the law?
Definitely. Since Monday midnight, when the compulsory age was reached, Nigeria, based on that law, sees the IGP as a retired officer.
Yeah.
As a retired officer. So, as I talk to you now, there has not been any appointment, and there is a big lacuna. A journalist asked the police minister yesterday, is there a lacuna? He said there's no lacuna. That minister doesn't even understand what he means by lacuna.
Okay.
So this is the kind of things we are seeing.
Okay, Mr. Obina, so, some persons will argue, because you spoke earlier, you said as of now, Nigeria, the Inspector General of Police is retired, even though his tenure has been extended. And then some persons have argued that the president does not have the power to actually reabsorb a retired police officer, especially under the pretext, of extending his tenure. Are you also agreeing to this? Are you also of this opinion?
Yes, the law also specified how IGP is to be appointed. Yet, the IGP, according to law, is to be appointed by the president on the advice of police council.
Okay.
So what we heard from the police minister yesterday was a unilateral decision by the president. So it is also a violation of process. The extension is against the law. The process of extending is also against the law.
So what would you say?
So it is completely, everything is illegality, built on illegality.
Okay, so what would you say is the implication of this action on, the country?
Yes, considering the fact that we're also facing very dire insecurity challenges in the nation.
Yes.
It has a great implication on the, let us look at the function of the police. Number one, police has the responsibility to keep you and I safe, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Two, police is responsible for keeping order through enforcement of that law. So, and even the electoral added additional responsibility to the police. Police is the only law enforcement agency that manages and ensures is involved in election.
Yeah.
So police in Nigeria has, even if a soldier commits an offense, they are handed over to the police for prosecution. So this is a very important, the IGP position is a very important position. And the police as a body is a very important position because they are in charge of internal security, and we are facing a very severe threat to our internal security. So these kind of things when someone's supposed to retire and leave, and some other person steps in, this kind of things demoralizes those that are coming behind who are looking forward to step in. So it has the potential of weakening their morale and thereby exposing us to more security threats. So it's not a good thing that someone unilaterally violates the law and also violates the civil service processes. So everyone in the police, the people that are supposed to step in, they are not happy. And some of them could compromise security.
Okay.
So this is not a good thing. It's not a good thing for our country.
Okay, Mr. Albin, now before we take your last words, it's still the big story segment on the conversation here on TOS TV, your digital first Pan-African news network. You can be a part of the conversation. Just head on to our Twitter page at TOS TV Network and share your thoughts on what you think about the extension of the Inspector General of Police tenure by 3 months as the news came out yesterday from the presidency. Now, Mr. Albin, now before we let you go, what will be your last take? What are your last words before we go?
What do you think should be done as regarding this issue now? What, in your opinion, what is the right thing? What should be done at this point?
For me, the right thing should be done. A replacement should be announced following the processes. That is, the process is the police council advises and recommends the next IGP and the police and the IGP and the president now appoint. Because I listened to the reason for the extension. Look at the words that the Minister of Police used. He said the extension is to allow for robust and efficient process of appointing a new IGP.
A new successor, yeah?
Because when the law has been signed, the law is already an efficient process. So when they say to allow for efficient process, which process are they talking about? Because the process is already in the law. Secondly, when they say to allow ample time, what time are they talking about? The tenure of the IGP didn't end abruptly.
Yes.
And in the last 1 week, all over the media has been reporting the issue about the ending of the tenure. So it didn't happen abruptly. So the question of ample time does not exist. The question of efficient process does not exist too, because the law has also provided for the process. So it's just for them to just go ahead and do the appointment. This extension is a distortion of the civil service process and rules, and is also illegal. This lawlessness has to stop in this country.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Obin. I will look forward to having more insightful conversations with you as regards the polity in our nation. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, we've been speaking to Obinna Chukwueze all the way from Jos Plateau State. We've been talking about the issue of extension of tenure of the IGP of police by the presidency. Obinna Chukwueze is a strategic communications and knowledge expert here in Nigeria. All right, that's how much we can take on the big story today.
Yes.
Do well to be a part of the conversation across all our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TOS TV Network. You can do well to log on to our website, www.tostvnetwork.com, for news on politics, business, development, and much more. It's good to keep yourself informed and educated, and TOS TV Network is just the right place to do that. All right, that's how much we can take from me. Do have a great weekend. I am Osaze Isesele.
And I am Adesu Osi. Don't worry, the social media training segment is going to be back on Monday. Thank you so much for watching.